Okay, my friends, let's step into the light realm. And what am I going to do? I am going to talk about the Higgs fields, which they claim they cannot see, and they have theorized them, and they are the God particle, which means they are the source of creation of matter. And I don't disagree with that. And this is, I do disagree with this. Higgs is massive. Well, I don't disagree with that. The Higgs is massive. Photons are almost massless, except they don't understand what a photon is. This is the problem. They don't understand these particles at all. So all their statements are based on a misunderstanding of the basic particle. And all they can do is show pictures of what they think they might look like. And this is a simulated Higgs event. The reason they can't see them is because the particles they're working with, when they hit them, they just make all this debris. We are not hitting huge particles like balls of mass like this. We're using light, which is a tiny little particle like this. So we actually see the Higgs fields, and here they are right here. This is equivalent to this. And guess when we did this? This was like back in 2012. This is over 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And this is the phone right here. You see this Samsung phone right there. And that took that picture of light, literally light. That is photons which have converted into Higgs fields. And I will show you this extremely clearly because I have hundreds of pictures of this happening. And this is the Higgs fields. And here's where, as they develop right here, as the light comes through, it reattaches with the dark particles. The white and the black reattach to make the Higgs. I'm going to show you this. Now, I was just watching Arvin Ash today, and he's talking about the Higgs fields and something about the Higgs fields. We're going to go into his diagnosis of what they think the Higgs fields are, because this is the most current speaking about the Higgs fields. They're all talking about them now because I have been presenting this for years, and I've really been forcing it on the main players in this, Fermilab primarily, but CERN, and I went to the University of Geneva and switched in online, and I explained them all this stuff way back then, and then they did actually change some things they were doing at CERN. They actually did. To use CMOS, we use CMOS. This is using a CMOS detector inside, which is complementary metal oxide silicas. And we could use it because we were only working with light, which is such a small particle that it can't damage the CMOS. They were working with chunks like this. When they hit the CMOS, it destroyed it. So they had to harden the CMOS, but they did. They hardened CMOS to use with these big chunks. And they shut down CERN for 3 years to do this upgrade with this CMOS. And they also did focusing magnets, which I also told them you have to focus. They weren't focusing. They were just letting them come, hoping they're going to hit something. So that was what they did. And, you know, we focused. So this is what our result was. This is what their result is. No result. Basically, that's the bottom line. All right, let's examine this. They're talking about the Higgs spin and the mass of the Higgs versus the photons, and they say the photons are massless, Higgs are massive. Let's look into that. All right, so here's Arvin Ash again. He's saying that they found this anomaly in here somehow. I don't know how they figured this out, but they say that it's a 3.5 million, 1 in 3.5 million, that they're wrong. Everything is statistics and charts and graphs with that. There's no material evidence. I do material science. They say that we're almost pretty sure of all the things we're saying. We can't possibly be wrong because of all of our statistical analysis of the guesses we made. All right, I'm going to let Arvin speak. He's saying today that it's so precise that it can't possibly be wrong about these Higgs fields. Now, they have never seen them though. Listen.
The measurement has achieved a higher than 6 sigma significance. So there's really no longer any doubt that the particle is there. And it turns out that there are many other particles that we have also never actually directly measured because of similar limitations. For example, the quarks and gluons that make up the protons and neutrons cannot, because of the nature of the strong force, ever be detected directly.
That's totally wrong. I'm going to show you we detected them directly because we started with light. When you start with the protons, you're just in a mess of particles that you could never figure out. Never.
Yet scientists still claim we discovered them. They can make this claim because the procedure for their discovery is similar to that of the Higgs. We smash things together and end up with a result. And from looking at the decay products of the process, we declare that it statistically only makes sense if these particles were in fact present as part of the process we measure. Now, this next part of the video is going to be the most interesting part to some of you who love details. I'm going to
That's me, buddy.
talk about exactly how the Higgs particle is created at the LHC and how it was detected. But before I do that, if you guys want to learn this
this is where I got involved with CERN and Fermilab and University of Geneva. When I went there for particle physics, I discussed all this with them. This is 2012 when this phone first came out, 2012, and we were taking pictures of light using this phone because of the CMOS and because we were only working with light instead of these heavy particles. Okay, here's Arvind's explanations of how electrons work in a quantum field, and I don't disagree with this, and I can actually show this happening.
511 mega electron volts, or MeV, the rest mass of an electron, in the electron field.
Now, as it moves through whatever it has to plow through, it's doing exactly what it does. It makes a wave because it is a field, and everybody else's field, these all have fields, and this has a field. Everybody else's field has to get out of the way. So these are actually being distorted way out here, not just here. And I can actually prove this. All right, this is coming through, I believe it's through glass, and this is creating that quantum wave. And all of these particles are being concussed. That's why they're glowing. Everything is, it's banging back and forth as it goes out here. It's a fluctuating wave. And it's getting weaker and weaker as it goes forward. Now, this is the wave like he showed, that bump, and which I just showed you a minute ago, that bump right there. However, all of this stuff is also, because this has such an enormous field, absolutely enormous. Hydrogen has a 21 centimeter line, which is the 21 centimeters is the length of its wavelength. So 21 centimeters, I believe it controls a magnetic region that far away from its center. Huge, gigantic, just a hydrogen. Look it up, 21 centimeter line. Now, what are we looking at here? All of this stuff is being affected as it plows through. It's got a huge, huge bubble surrounding the actual particle, which is here. And I can show this in another one where blue is just too powerful to see the actual particles. The green and the red, we can see the actual particles. Let me show you the red making this effect and all of these particles glowing, because it's just not quite as tremendously energetic as this. This you can just see every very, very discrete lines. The red, you see just a field of particles. Don't forget now, the blue is just so powerful. Everything is extremely well defined. The red is not as powerful, but it's the boop, 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 same thing. But way out here, we're just seeing these glow. The other one, we're seeing just an absolute break and a break and a break and a break, because that's just banging so hard that everybody gets stressed terribly. This is sort of push and shove and push and shove. So everybody out here, though, still becomes reactive. It has to. It's feel when they get crushed, the fields glow. That's just the nature of electron to electron interaction. That's push to shove, I call it. When you push, the pusher is usually the one that's got the biggest glow, and the shover back is the one that doesn't have the glow. And that's exactly what you see here. Then we accelerated that, and that's when we created the Higgs fields, because at that point we divided the particles, and then the Higgs fields come as they come back together. All right, here's where it gets confusing, because they don't understand what an electron is. I'm serious. They say the Higgs has 124 giga electron volts, and the electron only has a million electron volts. Giga means billions. So this has all the energy, they claim, and this one doesn't. Energy is electron volts, and these is billions, and these is 500,000. Now, I'm going to show you this is not correct in any manner whatsoever. And the only two particles that do exist are the W and Z boson. And when you add these two together, that's the black and the white ones, they end up making a Higgs. I'll show you this very clearly. So they're starting out with all wrong premises. They're making a whole bunch of little drawings about things and making assumptions and guesses and basing it on what they think is this mass of things. And when you get into the subatomic realm, the electron literally has no mass. The electron portion of the Dirac neutrino, the electron neutrino, has virtually no mass. The muon neutrino has virtually all the mass. And they only make a Higgs when they come back together. I'll show you that right now. All right, now don't forget, we were starting to take these pictures in 2012 with the Samsung Galaxy S3 phone. I showed you those pictures, and they were the exact same pictures as you're seeing here. And this is from Fermilab, and this is from 2013. They're trying to search for these things and to support the standard model, which they can't support because it's not correct. And we were seeing the exact same particles. The exact same particles. There they are right there. That's Fermilab's pictures. Now, this was, I presented this to Don Lincoln and to Fermilab and to CERN and to everybody, and I figured, boy, obviously they're going to have to jump on this. No, they said, don't ever contact us again. When I went to the University of Geneva, they were very nice to me, but they would not interact. They said, we don't want to talk to you. We'll follow you on Facebook. I'm not kidding you. That's what they sent to me. They said, I said, can we interact? And they said, no, we will follow you on Facebook. I said, holy smokes. This is 10 years ago, or even possibly more. And I was saying that this is dark energy and dark matter on its way from the sun to hitting the earth. This is where the dark matter is. So all of this was done long, long, long ago. And we could separate and see the Higgs fields coming from these two particles. When they separate, you see this, what happened? When we put that light through this Venturi, and at first it was just like this. That's the particles. They're glued together. They're gluons. They're glued together. And they call them gluons. And they come right through here, and here they just concuss and explode. And here you could create fission, and here is fusion when they come back together. And there it is right there. There's the fission when the black separates from the white, and here's when it comes back together. That's dark matter muons, which turned into sterile muons, which they say, if anybody can do that, it completely changes the atomic model, which it does, and we have, and there it is right there. And we created the electron showers from the white particle, which was normally attached to the dark particle. They call them Dirac neutrinos, and two of them together make a photon. And that's the white is the W boson, and the black is the Z boson. They only see them in bits and pieces at Fermilab and CERN because they smash too much stuff together at the same time. We just use coherent light. We can see them absolutely flawlessly. Now, as I said, when we discovered these particles, and we knew that they were the Higgs fields, but we could see them where they couldn't because we were using light instead of huge protons. I contacted Fermilab and all of them, and I spoke with Don Lincoln on a number of occasions, and he finally told me, you're a tinfoil hat guy, don't ever contact us again. Even though I'm showing him his exact same particles. These are his particles. These are the same exact identical particles. He says, even though it has a fuzzy glow around it, yes, absolutely it does. There it is right there. That's a fixed particle. Never changes. Never. And I show that as well. I show that they never change. You see this? When they came in, these balls are just like this. And the only reason some of them look small and some of them look big is because where they are amongst the white. These are dark matter. Dark matter does not absorb, it doesn't emit, and it doesn't reflect. The only way we can see it, and the only reason we can see it, is sitting on top of the white, so the white can't get to us. You see these balls? They're all the same size. They're all exactly the same size. Now, the black does not care about being right next to each other. It doesn't care at all. They'll go right on top of each other. You see it? The white, no, get away from me. Get. And that's why they explode like a bomb. Whites have the field. The black, no field, but the white wants desperately to be reattached to the black. That's why right out here, it reforms those Higgs fields. And that desperate reattachment is extremely energetic. Yes, I agree. So why wouldn't they talk to me? Why wouldn't they talk to me after having all this evidence? Evidence, not just guesses and charts and diagrams. This is why. You say, well, a hair follicle? Why would that be why they wouldn't talk to me? Because I was showing stuff like this, which is a giant hair follicle. There was a time on this earth where it was a great flood, yes, and there were great giant creatures, and this is a hair follicle from one of them. That is where the muscle attaches. This is the sebaceous gland right here, exactly as it's portrayed here. That's the hair shaft coming straight up through. This is the root that comes around and wraps up and comes right up. And those two spots right there are the blood vessels. Now, I have other ones here on my property that I had taken blood out of them, directly blood out of the rocks, and there is plenty of blood in them. And I sent it off for analysis, and they are human DNA. This is not one of them. But other ones, I have a 3-foot-long fingertip. It still has a fingernail and fingerprints on it. When they, as soon as I contacted anybody, they said, you're a nutcase, you're crazy. And they still do today, even though I have all the evidence to support every word I'm saying. I had DNA tests done, CAT scans, I had everything done. And there's nobody can stand up to me. So they will just refuse to talk. This is how the academics handle, you know, forward movement in science. It's just no, we're not going to go anywhere. You just get lost. If you have evidence, don't come here with the evidence. Come here with numbers and charts we can laugh about and call you a fool for making all these, saying, oh, this, and this has only happened 3,500 years ago. According to Velikovsky, who did the actual research of all the documentations in the world, that's claimed 3,500 years of a giant great flood that killed all the giants on the earth, exactly what was in the ancient texts, including the Bible. This is what freaks them out. This is why they won't talk to me about anything. As soon as I presented this, it was all over. And that goes back, again, 10, 12, 14, 15 years ago. But Yale has agreed, yes, there was a great worldwide flood and it created exceptionally preserved mud fossils, which I have here. I mean, they are exceptionally preserved. I have things that they almost look like they aren't dead. I mean, rocks that are just like meat. I got some around here somewhere. There's one right here. You see this? Hold on. I put a little water on that, and that's what you need to do, because the water brings out the color right away. You see that? That's just a piece of meat. And that's the fascia right on top of it, which is the coating. I have lungs. I have so much stuff. It's just phenomenal. And this is what freaked them out. And this is why they won't talk to me. So we're missing everything. We're missing our history. We're missing our geology. We're missing what's our ancient past. We're missing chemistry, because all of the stuff that the Dipole Electron Flood theory changes the atomic model so that all of that stuff is gone, and hydrogen is not one big proton and has a couple of little gluons and quarks and stuff like that inside of it. Hydrogen is 1,823 little dipoles. And then helium it's got 2 protons and 2 neutrons, so that's got like almost 7,300 or something particles like this to make helium. And then they go up like exponentially. By the time you get up in here, you're into hundreds of thousands. So this has to change. Chemistry changes. Nucleophilic substitution is got to be fully understood, along with the enzymes that create the nucleophilic substitution in the body. Without the enzymes, you will die. And the enzymes are only created from bacteria. We have missed literally everything because they refuse to engage with reality in academia or in any of the places where they think they're going to be called an idiot for thinking. And that's what it's come down to. If you think for yourself, you're a damn fool. If you repeat exactly what all of these science communicators tell you to say, then you're a genius. That does not work in my reality. My reality is reality. I'm a material scientist. So I know I got a little, testy sounded, but this is very upsetting to me because I'm going 15 years or more. Well, I'm going way, way, way more because I had dipole electron flood theory back when I was in college. And I was in nuclear missiles in the Army and Nike Hercules, and that sparked my interest into all this, and it's never unsparked. So now I have the evidence to prove everything that I've ever said about the dipoles. There's no way the nucleus could be set up the way they're saying it's set up. It's not just one big positive. No, it can't be. It has to be dipoles, and that's what I said is a dipole electron flood theory. So this is why they cut me out of everything, because I am in the reality realm everywhere, and nobody else is. In academics, I haven't found one, not one. Okay, this is Arvin Ash again, and he's going to say there's no way we can actually see the Higgs and detect it because its lifetime is too short. Well, I agree its lifetime is instantaneous, but we can see that because light is instantaneous, and that's what we're photographing is the light using just this Samsung phone. And watch this.
It decays effectively instantly. These two things make the Higgs boson practically impossible to detect. So it should be no surprise then that we have never actually detected it.
That's just wrong. I just showed the Higgs boson. So not only have we detected it, I show it and I show how it forms and why it forms. And it reforms. It's not, they have it backwards. The Higgs is when two particles are separated, and when they come back together, it forms the Higgs. And basically, that is what electricity is. Electricity is the energy. When the white particle comes back to the black particle, that's when all your energy is. So in one sense, he is correct. In another sense, he's not correct. Watch this. This is hilarious. I showed you that I have the giants. Listen to this. I thought this was hilarious.
Even if it could reach the detector. If all that is true, you have to ask the question then, what's the fuss all about regarding the so-called discovery of the Higgs? As it turns out, you don't need to measure it to know that it's there. Think of the dinosaurs. We don't see them today, but by looking at fossils, we can learn a lot about them, and we can...
Yeah, dinosaurs were ticks. Think about the size of this creature. If this hair follicle was on your head, how big would your head be? Dinosaurs would be like ticks. And they were, compared to the creatures that I have found on this face of this earth through my mud fossils. That's why they call me an insane person, because I validate all of the things that were said in the past. These creatures were absolutely enormous. Absolutely stunningly enormous. And that's exactly what it said in the ancient texts. They had to be wiped off the face of the earth. That's why I'm stopped from being able to speak about all this, because I did find all this stuff. This is just hilarious. Okay, my friends, don't forget, we did all this showing the Higgs using this phone from 2012 and this red pulsed construction laser with a slight venturi in front of it, taking pictures with the selfie side into all of these reactions. So we were only absorbing, we weren't sending any energy in, so we didn't disrupt anything. We were just observing, which takes out the observer effect, because normally they pushed light in or some kind of energy source in, or put a charge coupled device in so they could measure what was happening, and then they disturbed the event, so they called it the observer effect. If you look, you change it. No. If you observe, you don't change it. If you go in and interact with it, yes, obviously you change it. So listen to what they have to say here. Today, they have found exactly the standard model predict, exactly what it would predicted. No, they haven't. They just don't understand, so they contort and convert things to make it look like they understand. They draw these little doodles. Now watch. Precisely
as the standard model predicts. Now you might say, wait a minute, this is all bullshit.
Yes.
We need to see a particle to conclude that it actually exists.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Arvin. Thank you, brother.
To this, I can't completely disagree with you, but I think you should keep in mind that physics does not guarantee the truth, but only the most reasonable explanation.
Yes, if you do with the observations that absolutely exist. And this is what's been denied to me on all of my everywhere, with the giants, the mud fossils, all of this. All of the Higgs fields and light acceleration, it's not allowed. And the other thing is, Arvin should understand this, if there's fields in space, light coming to us is slowing down, so we have no idea where we are. If you go send light through a field, it slows it down because it has to push the field out of the way. And guess what? We are saturated with fields in space. There is no vacuum in space. This is nothing but fields and particles and dust and light is a particle, which I have shown you. Okay, so in addition to basically changing everything in history and science and geology and particles and light and all that, we should be able to get free energy by using this electron shower, which gives you gigavolts, trillions of volts sometimes, creating these showers, and then push them onto a receiver, just like a solar panel type thing, and pump that white stuff right down into your battery. And that's all you ever use in your battery is the white part. The black part you don't want. The black part is just nothing but weight. It's the carrier of the field. And that's all this is a field. It has virtually no weight. And I've shown this a million times for many years, and for the last 12-14 years I've had absolute certain evidence to prove exactly what I said. Well, actually for the last 10-12 years, let's go with that. And again, I did everything I could to interact with all these people that are making all these claims, and they refused to engage. And I was called a tinfoil hat guy by Fermilab, don't ever contact us again, and I had their same particles. And it's because of my research into the mud fossils. So you can't be honest and engage with anybody. It's just, I'm completely shut off from anybody that thinks they're smart. Let's go with that. People that want to learn, they love me. They love hearing this stuff. They love seeing the facts and the evidence. Just like Arvin Ash said. He said, I can't disagree with you. We really have to see that particle before we can believe all this bullshit, as he said, and he is correct. Yes, Arvin, I agree 100%. You might say, wait a minute, this is all bullshit. We need to see a particle. And that is what I have shown. You see this? The reason nobody would talk to me is because I was shunned by Yale. I presented them with all my evidence years and years ago, 15 years ago. And finally, in 2016, they did agree, and they put this up. Exceptional preservation of soft-bodied creatures by silica-rich oceans. Exactly what I told them. The silica comes from the flesh that eroded. The outside flesh is 50 times more silicon than inside. The preservation was due to rapid precipitation of silica cements facilitated by high silica saturated state of the oceans. And this was a worldwide event. This was not just in one little spot. This was worldwide, one layer, and it created this exceptionally preserved creatures. And they say that there's nothing like them that exists anymore today, most of them, and maybe it was a failed evolutionary experiment. Yes, exactly. I presented all this to Yale years before they published this paper, and almost word for word. And they've taken credit for it, so that's not correct either. So, you know, we're up against a mafia of academia. If you don't do what you're told to do, they'll destroy your life. And they destroyed everybody's life. Velikovsky ruined them. Tesla ruined them. Me, I'm not worried about it, so they ruined everything I did, but what can I say? They didn't ruin my life. So, and then everybody just speaks up. Everybody. And there was this guy speaking up about ancient carvings and trying to understand them. They ruined them, and they've removed his name from society as well. And Velikovsky was the same thing until I wrote my book about him, saying mud fossils and Velikovsky and minds in collision. Velikovsky said worlds in collision, which was what created this enormous rapid flood worldwide, and it was actually hot water flood, which created all the mud fossils and disassociated all the body parts from the flesh, basically from boiling in my area. Now, that's because Venus almost hit Earth. All was discovered by Velikovsky when he went through all the ancient texts of the entire world. And this is what destroyed all my research, because they sicked all of these crazy people on me, and they said, oh, this guy's a nutcase, he thinks there's dragons, and he thinks there's monsters, and he thinks the Earth is flat. I never said ever the Earth was flat. None of that stuff. It's obviously a globe, and the space station exists. We've gone to Mars. I've studied all of that stuff. I understand it implicitly, and they cannot take the heat of reality, because it changes everything they've been saying, their status, their funding, maybe, I don't know. There's a whole much more to be examined now. So why don't they go get some money to examine the new stuff? Maybe this will be a source of funding for them. I don't know. But I can tell you what, this is never going to be not true. The things I have presented are absolutely 100% factually, certifiably true. No question whatsoever. None. Zero. So they will never be able to walk away from this with their heads up high, because they rejected truth. And that is not acceptable when you're the teachers of truth.